And Logan, as we remember those lost 10 years ago in the horrific attacks on September 11th, one man is taking his story and turning it into a way to teach others. Dan Holdridge was a Pentagon worker on that fateful day and has chosen to write a book about one simple choice that not only saved his life, but changed his life as well. The book is called Pentagon Paper, and Dan is joining me this morning to talk about the book. So welcome, Dan. Thanks for coming on the show.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
First, let's just start about talking about September 11th. It started out just like any other day for most people.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day in Washington. That morning, the skies were blue and just a normal day for me. I was working for General Dynamics, not the sub-builder. It was a different division. But I was down there and we were installing the newly renovated section computer networks that were needed to be upgraded. And our team showed up for work that morning, and I got a phone call that morning asking if I could change a conference call from a Wednesday to that Tuesday, and so that delayed me. And so I took the phone call, and when I hung up with that woman, she called me back and said, "Did you hear about New York?" I said, "No, what happened?" She said, "Well, a plane had hit the trade centers." And I thought, oh my goodness, what a horrible accident. And then a few moments later, after we were chatting, she said, "Wait a minute, a second plane just hit." I said, "One, an accident, two, we must be at war." And so I hung up with her, and I did what probably most of your viewers did. I called home, and I talked to my dad, and I said, "Dad, you might want to check online what's going on. It looks like our nation might be at war." And as I was talking to him, I was trying to convince myself, as I was trying to convince him, I'm fine, I'm in the Pentagon. But thinking about it, I was in the defense capital, and but I never really thought it would be a target. And
That's
so
what I was going to ask you. If when you saw this unfolding on TV, did you ever in your mind think, I should get out of here, this could be a target as well?
No, I actually, when I hung up with my dad, I headed down to the Naval Command Center because I thought that, they have these huge screens that monitor the world, and I figured, well, let me go and see what's going on in New York, because I grew up in Connecticut. I knew the trade centers, and so I was just really concerned about what was going on. And so my colleague Bobby Shelby and I, we caught up and went down to the command center. And as I start my book out, a cigarette and a clipboard saved my life. He asked if he could take a smoke break.
Now, do you smoke?
No.
So, do you always take smoke breaks with your friends?
I do now.
You do now?
It was basically Bobby just wanted a quick smoke break before we went into the command center. And then I found out when I came back about a month later that everyone died in there. And so we would have been number 185 and 186 of the people lost in the Pentagon if we had gone in. And so it really, really changed my life completely. What
was it like for you two when you're outside and then all of this happens?
Well, I mean, when the blast happened, I was inside. I was about 10 feet away. The blast came through and picked Bobby and I up and slammed us to the ground, and the building came down on top of us. So we were just fortunate that we were able to get out. When Bobby and I got up, we saw a pillar nearby, and to the right was a fireball, and to the left was a center courtyard. So we took off to the center courtyard, and people started screaming at us, "You've been hit, you've been hit." And I looked down, and both of us were covered in blood and soot, and so I sat down in a bench that's in the center courtyard, and I just started grabbing people's cell phones because I wanted to call home and tell them I was alive. And everyone kept saying, "You can have my phone, but they don't work." All the cell phones jammed, and so they didn't work in New York or D.C. And so I couldn't call home. And a few moments later, I could hear on one of the radios that we have for work that they were asking if we were alive. And so I grabbed the radio and said, I'm alive. Do you ever sit and think, why me? And I'm sure writing this book has been very therapeutic for you, speaking, telling your story, and 9/11 affected so many people. You almost have this huge support system. But do you sit back and think, why me? Why did I live? I think about it, but I'm able to answer my question when I'm visiting with you or I'm visiting with audiences. When I'm able to tell a story about how each one of us need to appreciate the gifts we have in life and instead not feel entitled to anything.
Right.
I think that's the message. Honoring 184 lives that were lost so close to me was a heavy, heavy burden, and I live with it every day. But being able to turn that negative into a positive, being able to help people understand that no matter how entitled they may think they are to anything in life, they're really not. You can turn your life around and find your true purpose by giving yourself to those that need it most.
Right. Well, Dan, you're a true inspiration. We could sit here and I could talk to you forever about this incredible story. If you want to hear all of Dan's story, it's in Pentagon Prayer, and we'll have a link to where you can find this book on our website, too, ctnow.com. Dan, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to meet you.
Appreciate it.
Joe, over to you.
All right, Sarah, we have outside this morning a little bit of